It's now been 10 years since you've moved from a local regional stage to become a worldwide Grammy-winning act. What's the difference now for bands to break through as opposed to what it was like in 1999?
That's a good question. I think there are a lot of advantages, but there are also a lot of disadvantages. You know, a band today kind of has to keep an eye on all the technology and kind of keep up to date with all of that and all of the advancements on the internet and whatnot. Technology's kind of made it easy for a less than stellar band to sound incredible on a demo. You know, I mean, you can auto-tune everything to death. You know, so it's really made it easier for bands to not really have to do the work, you know, and cut their teeth and really get out and learn the craft, basically, you know, because I mean that's really what this is at the end of the day. There's so much that goes into it that it really is a craft. It's a career. It's a legacy, you know. I mean, all we're doing is following people's footsteps. So I think that I think that technology has definitely helped us leaps and bounds. You know, I mean, you see a lot of MySpace bands going far, Facebook bands, Twitter, you know, all that stuff. You know, that are enabling bands from little corners of nowhere to kind of get out there and be recognized. But at the same time, I think that the technology is lowering the bar as far as like actual talent goes. So it's kind of hard, you know. I mean, the technology's made it so you don't have to do all of the legwork these days, but there's something to be earned from that legwork that I think a lot of bands are lacking. You know, you're seeing a lot of bands that kind of get in and blow up a little bit, but then they have the biggest egos on the planet, you know, and it's really sad, you know. There's something about earning it that makes you appreciate everything that you get.
Do you think a band as inventive as Slipknot can do the same thing now as you guys did 10 years ago?
Probably, yeah. Because I mean, as crazy as we are, you know, there's a real artistic sensibility to what we do. You know, there's an esoteric line that we kind of drew in the sand. You know, plus we were the 9 hungriest dudes I'd ever met. You know, we wanted it or else. You know, I mean, 50 Cent has Get Rich or Die Trying. Well, that was the way we were. We were like, we'll just die trying. It doesn't matter. So I think that we would have been at least 10 steps ahead of any other band out there just for the fact that we are who we are, you know. I think that people would have been a little desensitized just because of like just how much music has come and, you know, technology and, you know, PR and stuff like that. You know, people are really kind of cynical people these days. But I think we would have bulldozed through, you know, because there wouldn't have been a band like us still.
Many members of Slipknot also have side projects, bands, record labels. How much work needs to be done without major label backing? And do your projects get special consideration because of who you are?
Not really. I mean, the music for me has got to be there, you know, and the people that I usually work with, like, they either hear it or they don't, you know. I mean, just attaching my name to something doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to sell millions of copies, you know. But at the same time, the stuff that I've been working on, just kind of on the fringe, is stuff that's kind of left of center, you know. Bands that are a little heavier than the music that I make, honestly, you know. Or taking a band like, say, Walls of Jericho, which is an amazing band, and doing an acoustic EP with them, which is completely left of center from what they're used to, you know. So for me, it's more about breaking ground and gaining ground than, you know, kind of selling out on a dime, you know. I'm starting to get a little more credibility. I'm starting to get a little more kind of looks in my direction, but at the same time, I haven't sold my integrity to do that, you know. I can make money anywhere. I'm not going to sell my art to do that.
You see more artists working with more digital releases, downloads, downloadable bonus content. Is this something that the band is going to pursue more? And do you think it works?
I think it does. I'm kind of I'm a romantic when it comes to that stuff. I mean, we all kind of grew up. It was more in the journey going to buy the CD than it was about getting the actual music, because the harder it was to get that disc, the sweeter the music was. And in this day and age of you can just beam an album directly into your hard drive, whether you bought it or not, it just takes a lot of that away. I mean, there was a whole ritual about it that I really appreciate, and I still do. I don't download anything. I still go out and I still buy CDs, and I still do it not because of the record labels or anything like that, but because it's part of my journey. So I think it's a double-edged sword. I appreciate downloading for the fact that maybe there's a kid in Kiev that can't get the latest Slipknot or Stone Sour album, and he's going to get it from the internet, and that's fine. As long as you're getting the music because you want it, that's fine. But when people are just kind of like just syncing up to LimeWire and just dumping hours of music into their hard drive, most of which they'll never listen to, that to me is the real travest, because for 9 times out of 10 there's a lot of heart in that music, and all you're doing is ripping off the artist.
Do you think that bands like 9 Inch Nails and Radiohead, who are giving it away for free, do you think that cheapens a product, or do you think that causes people to want it more?
I think when you're a band like 9 Inch Nails or Radiohead, you can afford to do that. I mean, they made their bones. They came up in a time when that wasn't an option. So and they're established artists. So that's part of what they do. They try to break new ground in other areas. I don't think it cheapens the product at all, because it's just another way to get the music out there, especially for hardcore fans of those bands. And those are generational bands. Those are street bands. Those bands will go on with or without the music industry. So for those bands, it's great. But when you're talking about a mid-level band that is still having to sell plasma to make ends meet, or just to get food, it doesn't make sense. I mean, what's the point of having a dream like this if there's no way for you to take care of your family or pay your bills? It's got to be one way or the other.